see here. Whoa. Hi! Sorry about that. We're running a few minutes behind here. We had some foggy cameras. Shh, don't tell anybody. Welcome to the December December show of Bar Mills First Mondays. I always start things off with customer photos. This week, or this month, it's going to be a little different. What I have tonight is kind of a collage of many different photos, but I don't have any names to them. So if you happen to see your photo on the screen, let us know in the chat, just so we know where we got the photos. Honestly, we get so many photos, and a lot of times we'll see one, great, throw it in a folder, and forget to take the information. So if we missed you, sorry about that, but certainly make sure you take credit in the chat. Lots of folks on tonight. Thanks for hanging in with us. I hope everybody's holiday season has started out well. Anyway, on to the photos. I got all kinds of different ones. Some really, really good ones tonight. We'll start off with the first one, which is an HO scale O'Doul's. The reason I know that's HO scale is because I can tell by the doors. This is a very popular kit. We also produce it in O scale, which we've featured many times here on the show. The O scale is beautiful. The HO is beautiful as well. As you can see here, there has been a few liberties taken, with the roofing materials and things like that. But really, I mean, it's a really, really great diorama. As you can see, it's lit and the interiors are actually done. Great detail here. That street looks pretty new, but anyway, looks really, really great. If you did this, make sure you put your name in the comments. Honestly, I'm not sure where we got this from. We have the next one here. A lot of you should be familiar with this one here. This is one of the structures in the Cigar Corner diorama that we did last year. This is the Matthias building. Great one, great job. Again, this is just one of, I want to say it was 7 structures in the whole diorama.
Whole interior.
You'll notice that it's lit up. If you can kind of see there in the front, the full interior, I mean, really great job. It's wonderful to see all the different takes on our models. Send us your photos. We love to see them. Next is a longtime favorite, McGee's. Now, this isn't one that we see very often. This was one of our original Basics series, if you're familiar with that. That was a line of structures, kind of beginner structures, that we had years ago. They lasted for quite some time. Originally, we started out with about 8 of them, and throughout time, we've added to them. This one here has actually been, I think it's discontinued at this point. I could be wrong on that. A lot of them have. But anyway, this was a beginner's structure kit. This was for modelers who were either new to the hobby or honestly just needed a smaller scene, on their layout or their diorama. Again, whoever did this, wonderful job. Wonderful job. Let's see what we got next here. Next is another one of the Cigar Corner buildings. This is the downtown garage, and this is HO scale. We'll actually be talking about this structure in a few minutes, just kind of maybe double size, maybe, we'll see, who knows. But anyway, wonderful job here. You'll notice that this is, it appears to be in a scene or starting to be placed in the scene. If you look in the back there, you'll see the Matthias behind it and actually the rest of the diorama. Looks pretty good, huh? Let's go to, wow. We are loaded with Christmas kits tonight. I guess it's the holiday season, right? Next is the Doverton Wharf. This was a structure kit that we did 4 years ago? 5 years ago? I don't know. I'm getting really old. A long time ago. A few years back. This is another structure that a lot of modelers picked up, but we haven't seen a whole lot of a whole lot of photos. If you have this kit, as long as it's not still on a shelf in a closet, I'd love to see some more photos of this structure. You see, there's a lot of weathering on this structure. I mean, the windows falling out there. Really, really good job. I'd love to see this placed into a waterfront scene. Let's see here. Next is an oldie but always goodie, Salinas Tavern. Now, if you're familiar with this kit, you know the story behind it. Up on top there, we actually have a cigar company billboard. Might know something about that too. I'm sure a lot of you modelers have picked that up as well. Again, this, I think we released this in 2004, 2003. Not to age myself too much, but less hair and what's left is gray. Again, wonderful structure. Next we have the dock house at Cundy Harbor. This was a diorama that we released the summer after we did the very famous Cundy Village. This was part of the Cundy Harbor scene, and this is one that we still manufacture as an individual structure. Great job here. I love the detail. I love the weathering. Look at that. That tin on top. I mean, that looks sun baked. Looks great. Next up, we have Papa Lou's. Now I'm not sure who the hand model is, or how they made that steel can levitate next to the structure there, but great job. Again, this is similar to one of the basics as far as it's not. You don't need a whole lot of skill to do this structure, but it doesn't take a whole lot of space. And just a fun fact, this is actually Dan Lutz. Oh, the people that aren't here yet, just let me know that this is Dan Lutz. I should have already known that because Dan sends us every photo that he takes, which I appreciate it, Dan. So again, maybe we should hire you as a hand model more often. Next up, which is this is probably one of my favorite pictures of this structure. This is Dunphy's. Now, when I look at this, I think 1930s tumbleweed going by, and what are we going to do? We just lost the farm. Really, really great modeling. I don't know what else to say about it. Really good structure.
Sam Seitzik.
Oh, this is Sam Seitzik. I'm probably butchering that. I apologize. Again, I'm hearing voices in my head. Great job, Sam. I love this. As a fan of, kind of the West, this really takes me there. Hopefully that's what you intended, but that's what I'm picking up from it. And last but not least, I think last. Oh, nope, two more. Ooh. Idaho Hotel. Now, again, this is a structure that we came out with years and years ago. Long story short, this was actually the first structure we ever did. And the things that we have learned since then, I wish we knew back then. If you actually picked up the original version of this structure back in 2001, 2002, everything was done very differently. All of the pieces in the box were individual, and this kit actually came in a wooden box that was produced by a small manufacturer here in Maine. Great company, but unfortunately they did go out of business. And then years later, we actually kind of did an updated version with plastic windows, doors, kind of made it a little more consumer friendly and honestly manufacturing friendly. That first one was a bear. Next up, last but not least, we have the Springfield Station. This is a somewhat recent kit, came out about 2 years ago at this point. Very clean version of this kit. I love it.
O-scale.
Oh, this is O-scale. Oh yeah, you know what? I should have realized that from the baggage cart. Looks really, really great. One thing to remember when you're modeling, even if no matter how you're modeling, where you're modeling, not everything is really old. Just like not everything is brand new. A lot of modelers tend to kind of pigeonhole themselves into everything's old on my layout. Well, sometimes they build something new, and this is a perfect example of, a very nice, clean kit. All right, well, you've had enough of me, so I take it we will go to the guys. Let's see what they're up to.
Merry Christmas and
Merry Christmas.
from my elf right
Happy
here.
holidays.
Anyhow, it's good to see you all. Jack picked up the latest in Christmas attire today, not realizing he gave me a size 7 hat with a size 13, I think, head these days. Anyhow,
It's bigger than that.
I think it can be at certain times. Anyhow, welcome to Bar Mills on another rainy day. I tell you, if it keeps raining throughout the season, and I'm going to remove my chapeau, whatever it is, my chateau. I can't do that. If it rains like this all winter, rain doesn't stay rain very long. We're going to be snowed in here for sure. Anyhow, I'm grateful that you all had a chance to stop by. I see we have Ed O'Rourke, Todd Bryan. Of course, Todd Bryan is from Palmer, where we all go to have lunch when we visit the Springfield show in Massachusetts in January. Of course, Frank Bernard, one of our associates, is with us tonight too. And by the way, in case so there's no mistake, the downtown garage was actually Frank Bernard's build.
Yeah,
Okay?
that was his build.
That snuck in there. I see we have Wigwag here, who as usual, wagging along. Keith McKenzie. Are you going to San Francisco? Oh, that was Scott McKenzie.
Yeah.
If you're old enough to remember that. Steve Lennox. I think Clark Kooning.
Clark Koenig's on, yeah.
And we have some interesting stuff for you tonight. I'm actually very excited about this. It is just pretty amazing. If anyone has any input on the sound, we actually had to shut down the lights in back of us tonight. We left the cameras out in the shop, and it's been so humid and cold that apparently something fogged up, and we had to change things around. Hopefully the picture is okay for you. We have 3 cameras, and they were all fogged up. So at first we thought it was the camera, but when it became 2 and 3 cameras, things changed. We're going to be talking about a lot of fun stuff tonight. Jackie, you have not 1 but 2 clinics.
I do?
Do you remember what they're on?
Oh, that's so long ago.
Oh, come on.
One's on we're putting in glazing on windows,
Glazing on windows.
and the other one was
Yeah.
coloring the sidewalks.
If you remember
Paint the sidewalks.
last time around, someone asked us about how do you weather and paint
the sidewalks.
the resin sidewalks, the brick sidewalks that we have. So we're going to be presenting a clinic on that tonight. And that's going to be a big deal. Then, last time around we had the folks actually from Showcase Miniatures on, which is not a well-known company by most standards, and you guys really loved it. And I really like bringing other manufacturers on so we could share the hobby. It doesn't do us any financial good, but you know what? There's so many small entrepreneurs that just don't put the money into advertising and social media like maybe Bar Mills does here. And we have not 1 but 2 incredibly unique and diverse manufacturers with us tonight. One is Bernie Kempinski from Alchem Scale Models. If you haven't heard of Bernie, don't be alarmed. Most of you probably haven't. And the other one is my good friend Alan Pollock, former president of the NMRA. And he deals especially in miniature figures with his company Fun and Games out of Missouri. So we are going to have them live a little bit later on. But for right now, we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming in Bar Mills for January. Now, you understand we're going to be starting to ship the Cemetery Hill kit. We've pretty much exhausted the first one as far as sales go. And you have until January 31st. We know there are many, many latecomers on something like this, and that's okay. That's why we give you the window. But at this point, we're push is coming to shove. We're finishing the final packaging, and they should be leaving here the very end of this week or the beginning of next week. We're just waiting for a couple more resin details to show up at the doorstep. So we're going to be talking about a few things, Jack, and we've been working together on this, that we're going to be really working hard to make sure we have them in Springfield, Massachusetts next month. And some of these are HO. One of them is N scale, and one of them, believe it or not, is O scale. So right now, Lenny's kind of doing a little housekeeping here. Jack, what's with you? Anything going on, buddy? Any projects? What are you working on?
Let's see. Oh, I still got the ice house.
We're working on the Ice House at Cranberry Yard. That's going to be made out of basically MDF, and it's going to be etched, right? We're going to etch it to look like cinder
Brick.
blocks, right?
No, brick. I haven't even put a pen or a knife to it yet. So
I do have to mention one thing. We have a fellow named Todd Morissette. Todd was a very dear friend to us for almost 20 years. And if you like the Bar Mill site, Todd is the fellow who I worked with him on it, the conceptual end of it, but he worked so hard on it. And we called him just 2 or 3 days ago about updating some information on the website, only to find out that he had passed away. He was 55 years old. We have no idea what happened, but we remember Todd. We've only met him once. He lived in Maine and moved down to the Carolinas. But if you enjoy the Bar Mill site, 55 years old, and we're missing him, and we're praying for his family too. So I want to bring him up. It's we were all shocked. We were just numbed by it. Let's get back to happier news. Lenny, are we set to show any photos?
Absolutely. So let's go to new products.
Absolutely. What's the first one on the hit list?
Let's start out with. Let's start out with the Clarks.
Okay.
I have the Clarks on the screen.
All right. Clark's is named after Clark Kooning, right?
Yep.
Jack built the diorama that you see on your screen, and this kit is in HO scale.
yep.
And we can look forward to that as a January release. We have to finish up the Cemetery Hill. We do get a break Christmas week, and then we're going to go into instant production, doing the instructions and everything else for this building. If you have any questions about it, right now it's an HO scale. Potentially, this might make it into another scale. I can see the possibilities here.
Yeah, this probably could go all 3 scales.
Anything unique? Now, Jack built the kit. Is there anything unique about this, Jack?
Nothing. Just there's a couple things we did in the diorama, but that's up to you guys too to do. But
Well, we did it. Unfortunately, we only have the one photo here, but if you turn it around, there's a lot going on in the back of this building.
the back is as busy as the front, so it's made for if you got a peninsula or something on your railroad, you can stick that on and don't have to worry. We did put a fence all the way around it. I kind of made a little bin for the sawdust out of the fence, which is kind of cool. But it's got a loading dock, 2 loading docks actually in the back.
And this will be coming out in HO, and it's not going to be a super expensive kit, and it's not going to be a limited run. Just saying that right off. So you can look for that in January. Lenny, what do we have next, sir?
Let's see here. Next we have the Downtown Garage.
Now, before we showed Frank Bernard's version of the downtown garage that he had done, well, Frank is busy right now actually working on the O-scale version, because this is going to be released not only in O-scale, which is a brand new release for your O-scalers, but the HO version that came in the Cigar Corner kit is going to be released as a standalone kit. I cannot tell you how many folks have asked for the Cigar Corner kit. You can't get it. You can never get any of the buildings individually, but this one is going to sneak into you can get it. Of course, it'll be a little different as far as what comes with it, because the Cigar Corner kit, any limited kit, is always stocked, packed to the rim with all kinds of details. This will be a little bit more restrictive to help maintain a lower price point, but look for this in O scale and also in HO scale coming up in January. I know Frank's on board here, and Frank wrote down great kit, but I don't know which kit he's referring to. Any comments on
Clark?
this? No, well, Clark says, what a nice honor. Okay, I'll order one.
Yeah, but then
That's for Clark Kooning.
Clark says what? No hockey sticks?
Clark is Clark from Clark's woodworking. There is a Canadian, and maybe it should have been a hockey stick factory. I don't know.
Toothpicks is good enough for him.
That'll be next.
He's good. What do we have next, Lenny? This will be, by the way, this Downtown Garage O scale and HO scale was slating it for January of 22, just a month away.
Next up, we're gonna totally jump scales.
Okay.
And go to N scale.
Good. The N scalers have been waiting for something. And on occasion, we will take here again one of our dioramas and isolate a piece that might work in N scale or O scale, or whatever the instance is. And this is from our Queen City Coal Company. And this is a building we know will work well in O scale. We're not going to scale it up to O scale. It's just simply wouldn't scale properly. But in N scale, this is on the drawing boards as a future N scale kit. And that is a picture of our HO version. I don't have the N scale one completed yet, but you can look forward to that in January. So far we have Clark's in HO. Mm-hmm. We have the Downtown Garage in HO as well as in O scale. We have the Queen City Coal Company in N scale, and I know we have at least one more, right?
We have two more. Next
Two
up,
more.
we have the transfer station at Cranberry Yard.
The transfer station in Cranberry is another one of Jack's efforts, and you'll see it here. He actually used George's colors. Our prototype will be green and gray, I assume, because that's how we do Cranberry Yard. Jack, what do you have on this? Anything special?
It's not a big building, but it's a great little building that you can put almost anywhere. Hip roof on it. It's got a little. It'll have some fence that you can throw in the back to make a little storage place for junk and stuff.
Small footprint kit.
And it screams to be done inside because it's so a limited space in there. You can do a lot with just a little one and two big doors. So
Now you can see now on the left-hand side as you look at the picture. If I'm not mistaken, that's an exit. That's also a freight door on the left behind the fence, right?
There's a one on the end and one on the side. So
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a good little building. It'll be quick and easy to build, but it'll go almost anywhere.
Excellent.
Good something in the yard.
And what do we have next?
Last, we have the poles, the electric poles.
This is something, we've been asked a lot. Jack did a clinic on how to detail a telephone pole. And we took a picture of one of the poles, and we've been working on designing transformers. You can see the transformer in this picture, which we obviously make. But we are now designing them and having them produced in both O scale and even S scale, because N scale going to be a little tight. I cannot guarantee an N-scale release on this, but the telephone poles will be priced in packages of probably 6 or 8 in the package to save some money, and they will be available in HO scale and S scale even, which is a little different, but it's not very hard for us to do it, so we're going to do that for the S scalers, and in O scale. And they will be coming with transformers, and that possibly, depending on the scale, maybe a fire alarm box, something that would decorate the pole just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So that's a multi-scale thing too, and all of this is slated for January, which is now you'll know why we don't get much rest here, because we go right from not Queen City. I'm sorry, that's an older kid. We go right from Cemetery Hill into making these things, specifically going to be premiered at the Amherst Railway Society show in Springfield the end of January. We'll let you know when it becomes available. Jerry Bankston says finally got on but can only listen. Well, Jerry, watch this later. Frank says great little kit. Someone says so cute. What do you have?
Somebody wants to know if there's going to be a section of Instafence with the poles.
A section of Instafence with the poles. If you're talking about with the telephone poles, no,
Yeah.
the telephone poles. If you're talking about the building, the transfer, where you have a piece of fence, I believe, in that, as well as possibly a telephone pole, that will come with that kit because we try to include a complete diorama. And Jim Armour knows that oh so well. Mm-hmm. Is the transfer building a January release?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, it may be the very end of January because you can see how much we have to do. What else we have? So getting the pole set in HO, very nice. We're going to be doing an expanded clinic on the poles too, so you'll be able to actually watch the clinic. And Jack did kind of a quick one. I think we're going to stretch it out a little bit, so it'll be more.
We'll do the whole pole. We just did the kind of the crossbuck, really.
Right now, he has a little technique in there that you're going to be able to pick up on. Now, I know we're running. I don't know if we're running late, but we're certainly moving along. We're into a half hour, and we have not one. But 2 guests tonight, and after we get done speaking with these guys, we're going to make sure that we go back to Jack's Clinics, and that's normally the way we handle things here. If you have any other questions or comments, let's squeeze them in right now, and we'll pick up whatever we can a little bit later. Todd Bryan says we're going to be busy. Todd, let me tell you, this is no business for the weak-hearted.
I got Stephen Grimes from Brisbane, Australia.
He's Steve Grimes. He's down under.
Is that
He's eating a shrimp, maybe,
on the bobby, as they say.
or a very short, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. But let you say something here, Jim Armour. Jack, you mentioned in your clinic, you mentioned something about Instafence.
Oh, which
Well,
one?
we did an
Instafence.
We did an Instafence one. Are you on this? Are you on this year? This week's thing? Can the footprints of the buildings be posted? They will be once we get to the point of knowing what size the dioramas and everything are. Yeah. And Art, Bruce Kutch. Bruce has been cut off from dealing with bar mills ever again.
He must have not been here at the beginning.
He must have. I have.
It was pinching his brain.
I have it's squeezing my brain. It's a size 7 hat with a size 13 noggin. It's squeezing my brain. So there we go. We look better now. You'll never be as good looking as me, Jack. It's just it is what it is.
You know how long it took me to find that small hat?
I bet the baby screamed when you took it off of her. When you make the kits, do you sand all the charging? I'm not quite sure. Sand?
The charge. That's like when we do the thick stuff, you get the black mark from. I think that's what.
No, we don't do that. You do it,
Yeah.
and you don't honestly have to. It depends on the piece. And most things are hit them by corner posts and all. I never bother. Our lasers cut very cleanly, and actually we've gotten much more sophisticated material than we did many years ago. Most of the charring, not the charging, but the charring, that's where it's going.
That's
right?
what I think where it is. Yeah.
Right. Most of the charring is really on plywood.
The thicker stuff. Yeah.
Right,
The thick
and
stuff.
we've gotten away to a large extent from plywood through using MDF and, of course, laser board, which is something we helped develop many, many years ago. Everybody knows what it is now, but when we started using that, nobody knew what it was.
It all depends on what you're actually going to put on for a finish. If you're going to paint it, that's not a problem. Just prime it up and paint it. The charring will go away. You can sand and scrape it off if you want to. If you're going to go with a wood type of thing, there's a couple ways to do that.
I see so many, Bill Simpson, Homer Simpson, no,
No.
Chris Plale, Bob Mack, Howdy, and Hope, and from Hope Mills, North Carolina.
They want to know if the telephone poles will come with wires.
No, because I wouldn't use them on my own layout. To me, I mean, I think it's great that Woodland Scenics is doing it, but if you put them in the front of your layout, especially if you're operationally oriented, maybe not. So no, I don't use them. I just
Is it
question of reference. Does George use wires on his? I'll bet you
No.
he doesn't.
If you're going to put wire on anyway, the only way to do it is the Berkshire wire, which is like an elastic.
That's Lycra. You know what that is? That's the same stuff they sew into underwear.
I wouldn't doubt it.
That's what it is.
So if you lean against it, you don't pull everything over. It just stretches a little bit. If you're going to put it on, that's the best stuff.
So if you have a black pair of undershorts that you're not using, just bring it downstairs.
Make
Don't
sure
tell your wife what you're up to. Whatever you do, as you string your underwear around your layout, may keep the cats off. Okay, now
On that note, maybe we should try to give Bernie a call.
all right, let's talk to Bernie Kempinski.
I want to know why Roy Whitman. I have yet to build a Bob Mills kit totally. Does he have a whole bunch of these half built on the? You got to finish them up. It only takes a little bit more.
Why not totally? Let's get a hold of Bernie Kempinski. Bernie's down in Virginia. He owns a company called Alkem, Alkem, and he's been around for a long time. And Bernie and I were both working pretty much from different ends of the earth as authors for N-Scale magazine in the 80s and 90s. And we've gotten to be friends over the years. So I've known Bernie for about 30 years, even though we predated the internet and didn't know each other quite as well back in those days. Bernie, is Bernie live with us yet? And we've gotten to be friends over the years. So I've known Bernie for about 30 years, even though we predated
Robert
the
Dye,
internet
you can
and
always
didn't know
pick
each
this
other
up
quite
on
as well back in those days.
YouTube or
Bernie,
Facebook
is
later
Bernie
on.
live with us yet? And you got to bring him up. All I see is like just the top of
I
his
got
head.
him right here.
I've seen him in person. He's bigger than there he is.
He's not wearing a suit.
There he is, and
There, we got him.
he's not, and he doesn't have a goatee.
Hello,
Let's
hello.
do this here.
Got to put your ears on.
I got to put my ears on.
I don't get one. I just have.
Bernie,
Hello,
can you hear me,
guys hear
buddy? Hey, Bernie? Hello? Can you hear me? I'm not getting anything, Len.
Okay.
We're going to fool around. 1 minute.
I'm not hearing you
Definitely
guys.
have him now.
Hey, Bernie, can you hear me, buddy?
Okay.
We're going to fool around. 1 minute. You want
My,
to shut off the
mic's
sound, Bernie,
working.
please?
I'm not hearing you
Definitely
guys.
have him now.
Hey,
All right, now you can hear me, but I can't hear you.
okay, now I see you. I see him.
Did you hear?
I don't hear him yet. We're going to play with this for a second. Lenny's hard at work doing this. And I see Bernie's trying. Let's see
Okay.
what happens here.
Yep.
Testing 1, 2. Bernie, if you can hear me, let me know, buddy.
I don't know what's wrong. I can't hear you
1, 2,
guys.
3.
Hold on.
Oh, man.
No, hold on.
Can you all hear me now?
A little distortion there. All right, folks, this happens sometimes when you're doing a live show, and we spoke to Bernie earlier this evening, and everything was fine.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
But Lenny.
Oh, I heard crackling.
Okay, Bernie, can you hear me now? Nothing.
Put my monitor to the sleep.
I'm getting nothing, Len.
Okay, Bernie, you want to give us a...
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
You got it now?
Bernie, I hear Bernie, I think.
You should.
Hey, Bernie, can I hear you, buddy? If you can hear me, put up your thumb, because I can't hear you at all. No.
I'm going to hang up. You guys try calling me again.
I just heard you want to hang up, you guys try calling me again. I heard that.
I'll give him a call back.
All right, we'll call you back. We'll call you right back. All right, we get this happening once
Well,
in a while.
Robert Ty said we hear Bernie.
Yeah, it wasn't...
Wasn't it? It was,
Right.
yeah.
So was this?
Can you hear me now?
I'm getting him in
Yes,
here.
I can hear. Is that you, Bernie? I can hear you.
Yeah, oh, yeah. You should have him now.
Bernie, can you hear me, buddy? Oh, I lost him.
Okay.
Hello?
We'll call him back.
No, I got him right here. You should have him now.
What's wrong? I'm not hearing you guys.
He can't hear me.
That's not all right.
Turn up your volume. Can you turn up your volume? I can't do this.
Not hearing you fellers.
You got him now?
Bernie, I hear Bernie, I think.
You should.
Hey, Bernie, can I hear you,
Can
buddy?
you hear him now?
I can hear you on my other computer.
If you can hear me, put up your thumb, because I can't hear you at all. No.
I'm going to hang up. You
He's
guys
listening on
try.
a delay that he shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't have the delay on, Bern. That should be off. Okay.
He's got thumbs up.
All right, we'll call you back. We'll call you right back. Okay, I'll tell you what. I don't know what to do with this, Lenny. You want to help me out?
He's whatever device it appears that he's using two different devices, and the device that he's using for Skype, he's not using for sound, and that's why.
That's me calling him.
Okay.
Hey, Bernie, can you hear me, buddy?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so let me hang up with him. and
Okay,
I'll
so
call
Lenny's
back.
going to hang up, and then we're going to try it again. Now you're getting a delay on a second device that it's going to be out of sync with real time. So it's better if you don't listen on that second device.
Yeah, I turned it off.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's try this one more
Lenny's
time.
going to call you right back because right now we're live with a bunch of very patient modelers. Okay, hold on, hold.
Good man.
Okay. All right. Look.
Hello, everybody.
Are we still live to the guys, Lenny?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do some questions.
Huh.
While we're waiting, a little technical glitch here. Let's see. Dennis Cox. Dennis Cox. Is trying to find out something. Looking fine. Looks and sounds good. Picture is fine. And we are kind of messing up here with Bernie Kuczynski.
Okay, we've got Bernie back.
And I see Dick Ellis.
This is not working tonight.
Bernie, can you hear us now?
I don't think so.
I don't know, man. It's not working.
Hey, Bernie, you can't hear me, sir, right? Okay, what do you want to do with this, Len?
Okay, Bernie, you got us now?
Okay, well, maybe it says speaker off.
Yeah, no, you don't want to. Okay, Bernie, can you hear us now? Okay, he says he can't hear us. Okay, hold on.
He's
Hold on one
Okay,
second.
we're still on air, right?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
Let's go through. You know what? I tell you what. While you're sending that up, can we go through a video? And is that possible? We can do a video while you're trying to establish your Skype contact.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
Just because of the way that it works.
Listen to the snow on
Try
the
Zoom. Yeah, I see that. Bernie's output probably isn't set for Skype. Actually, it was this afternoon. So
Right.
yeah,
Listen to the snow on the roof.
it's raining, huh? Never stops.
No, that's snow. Liquid.
Yeah, liquid snow.
Liquid snow.
Okay. Yeah, he just hung up.
Okay.
Why don't you send him a message and we'll try again. I'm gonna try to call Alan now. Let's.
We will try again in a few minutes.
Let's give Alan a call.
Okay. Let's see if we're going to be messed up with our guests tonight. I hope not.
Anthony Borden said he heard both of you. So
Yeah, Bernie can't hear me though.
huh?
I still see Bernie on the screen.
Yep.
Jeff from Florida says it was 82 today. Well, that's how many inches of rain we got.
All right. I'm gonna bring Alan in here real quick.
I hear Alan. Alan, can you hear me, sir?
Let's see.
I don't think he can hear me, Len.
Hold on.
And I still
Okay.
I still have Bernie on the screen. What are you doing, Len? You're
Alan, can you hear us?
Boy, Alan must be a fan.
Well, Lenny, I think this is Skype something.
Ah, there he is.
Alan, can you hear us?
Hey, Alan, can you hear us, buddy? Alan? He doesn't hear me.
Midway Antique is the place to be. Farm equipment is what I like to see.
Alan, can you hear us?
Yeah,
Can you hear me, Alan?
I can.
Okay, great. I see you on my screen right here, and welcome to Bar Mills. Alan Pollock is you are a former president of the NMRA, or did I get that wrong?
No, that's correct, but that's been about 16 or 18 years ago.
Well, it seems like we have a delay in the photo, in the picture, in the live picture, but you can all get an idea what's going on here. Anyhow, Alan owns a company called Fun and Games, and based out of Missouri. I've known Alan now for about 15 years, and anyone who knows our Wharf Street S-scale layout and has seen it, either in photos or in person, we have a lot of detail, and many of the details we've gotten from Alan because Alan is involved with scale figures. Alan, what scales do you handle with your scale figures?
Well, we've actually got an N scale line that we picked up from Rustic Miniatures when he retired. And then we're basically the HO S O scale 1/32nd, 1/24th, and 1/20.
Well, this is why we want guys like you aboard here with these interviews, because I'm sure there's more than one guy going, holy cow, who knew this stuff was even available? And I can tell you, I have some on my layout, and we have a few pictures off of Alan's website. By the way, Alan, the pictures on your website are not great. so
Yeah.
so I took a couple of pictures of our Wharf Street layout to also post. So we have a little bit, we kind of mixed them with yours so folks would get an idea of what you offer.
Very good. Yeah, the website is in the bucket list to revise, totally revise, because we can't even get into the website that when you click on our website. We
Well,
can't.
let me ask you, on your figures, are they basically metal or resin or a mixture? How do you approach that?
Most of the figures from N up through O are metal, white metal. The O scale, there's several of them that are actually offered in resin. And then most of the large scale figures are resin, although we do carry the old Phoenix line, and that's still metal.
Now we do have some folks there. I have one fellow in particular. We normally save this until the end of the interview, but what is your website address?
Scalefigures.com.
Scalefigures.com, would that be right?
Yeah, scale figures, all one word, and the S on the end. It's plural.com.
Well, let's take a look at a couple of your figures while we're talking. Now, I know you don't have any reference as far as what we're putting up on the screen, but let's just go into a couple things. You know, I ordered some metal today, and metal used to run us about $7.50 a pound. As of today, thanks to this wonderful new economy, metal is now $22 a pound.
22. Got some metal, but it was a little bit less than that about 4 months ago.
Yeah, well, things are apparently getting better all the time. It's up to 22 last week, 21.50 this week. But according to our source, we can look forward to endless metal hikes. Has that
Right.
done much to affect the pricing on your metal,
Well,
figures?
we haven't changed the price on our figures for probably 15 years. And at this point, we've still got plenty of stock at those prices, and I've got a lot of metal that can take me through this big increase. Of course, if the price doesn't go back down to quote normal unquote, then we'll just have to pay that when we run out of metal.
Well, I'm going to have Lenny put up at least one picture. Can you put up some on our layout?
Absolutely.
Now, when we built our SN2 layout, we built it for the 2007 Narrow Gauge Convention, and of course it still exists. And I took the liberty of taking some photos, which you can see one here. It's a fellow sitting on some pilings looking into the water. And Alan, I don't know, eventually you'll be able to see this spot. I don't know if Alan is watching his screen or not.
He wouldn't be.
Alan is not watching his screen. But the question is this. When I'm looking at these high-end detailed figures, they're all painted. I don't know if you offer them unpainted or not. Do you?
We do. Got to have the unpainted ones to get to the painted ones. So typically, I mean, we will sell unpainted.
Right, and you paint them. I know when I get from Woodland Scenics, which is HO scale and some O scale and some N scale, but they haven't released much in the way of new figures for a long time. And I look at your line and I see just things I've never seen before. When you paint your figures, do you paint them? Do you have people in this country paint them, or do you tend to outsource that end of the business?
Well, both. Actually, both. At the very beginning, 2 or 3 painters here in this country will paint 2 or 3 of each new figure. And then we take a choice and, make the selection, and that's the master that goes over we have it done in Sri Lanka.
In Sri Lanka, I actually wanted to go to Sri Lanka. Oddly enough, I could have gotten some figures over there, apparently.
I'll give you my factory's address. Not my factory, the people that do the painting, and you can stop in and see them. I have not sent a batch to be painted for over a year now, but I assume they're still doing it. The company I use is really big into wargaming figures, and I just discovered them on the internet. And they
I know that there's
job.
oftentimes that, especially with Chinese figures, they're brightly painted red and yellow. As the fellow who owns probably 3 or 4 dozen of your figures, one of the things I like about them is you have a very natural, laid-back look to the paint schemes. Is that something that you come up with, or is that something you just trust to the powers that be?
Well, I will. The painters are very good at following the sample. We don't describe the paint job. We give them a master, a painted master figure. And my instructions to the people here, when they're painting the initial one, we always go for faded clothing. And then the other factor that what you were talking about is that the figures after the paint dries get 1 to 2 coats of dull coat.
Well, for anyone looking at the pictures on our Wharf Street layout, just as a reference, those figures happen to be in S scale.
Uh-huh.
So they're just big enough to look good for HO and look good for O scale. And being an SN2 layout, it's not easy getting figures for off the mainstream scales. I've looked at your website, Alan, and I have to tell you, there's an awful lot of text and an awful lot of links to be clicked. How many figures do you make, considering that you do so many different scales?
I've lost track. I think we're pushing 800 figures just in O scale. So it's a pretty large selection.
That's just an O scale?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought I heard that wrong. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, is that your workbench behind you, Alan? I know earlier today you mentioned something we see on the wall behind you with a clock. I believe the clock.
Below the clock, there's gray trays of figures is what's contained there under the clock, under the cabinets. And the actually just out of the figure, just above the clock, is my part of my large scale layout. But yeah, that's basically the painted samples that we will send with a batch of figures to be painted. That's what those great shelves are. What you can't see is it goes around the corner. Now I guess it'd be over this corner. And then right to the left of the picture is the tabletop that never can stay clean.
Well, let me ask you one other thing, Alan, because we've kind of lost our first guest, Bernie Kempinski from Alchem Models. We had trouble with that. Hopefully, we'll be able to raise him again. We'll see. We're going to try. We thank everybody for being so patient. Things happen. At any rate, Alan, you've been doing this. Well, I've known you. I got my figures basically in 2007 when we built the Wharf Street layout. How long have you been doing this?
We became official in 1987.
Wow, really? Wow.
Yeah, I was working full time, and I was serving as president of the NMRA and doing this figure business all at the same time. Well, and raising a family. So it took, had a lot. The early years we were building up the business and building up the stock. My intent was to offer the painted figures for a couple of years and then just deal in the unpainted figures. And as it's turned out, 95 to 98% of our business is in the painted figures.
Well, one thing I like, and one thing that's very unique, is even though we are a Woodland Scenic Steeler, and I think our guys know that we sell them at a discount as well. But basically, you're buying you're buying a complete set, a theme set, where your figures are a la carte. They're handmade, they're meticulous, but they are one at a time.
We do not sell them in sets. We handle, like in O scale, the Buffalo Landing figures that are made by Maurice. God, last name escapes me now, but he's in New Zealand, and you can only buy his figures in unpainted in sets, but we will break those up for you. But we will only break them up for to do painting. If somebody offers their figures unpainted, then basically we try to just sell their line painted, and that we've carry some in each of the scales, other people's figures, but I'm getting older. We're gradually going to go back to just the lines we produce.
If you were to have a premium line, because I know you have a lot of different lines, is there one premium line that stands way above the rest, or maybe not even way above the rest, but that is a real go-to line that modelists tend to gravitate towards? Or is it a pretty much even playing field as far as the quality across?
Well, I would say probably it's closer to the even playing field, and it's really up to the modeler, and a lot of it depends on what scale. I mean, some of the figures that we've had carved and produced for us, and there's S scale and O scale that, well, and large scale, but I think the some of the O scale that were done by Ray Lance, who used to do all the sculpting for the model company over in New Zealand, which we now own that line. So we offer that line. But those are really, really good figures.
Now we have a fellow named John. We have a fellow named John Clark. I don't know if you know the name. He says his painted figures are great. I have several in O scale. So right there you have someone. Also a fellow named Robert Dye wants to just say hello to you. I don't know if any of these names sound familiar.
Yeah, oh, Bob's a good friend. He lives about 40 miles south of me, and we see each other about once every 12 years. Good
Well,
buddy.
I'll tell you what, I know we step on each other a little bit because we have a very big video delay between us. You don't see me at all. And when I see you, it doesn't line up. What's coming out of your mouth isn't what it looks like is coming out of your mouth on my end. But I know I'm looking forward to seeing you in Springfield this year. I know you won't be displaying. I kind of wish you would be. I think modelers would enjoy this. I am going to personally, from the Bar Mills perspective, you're a company that I would really endorse because it's unique. It's not unaffordable, and you can get a nice alternative, especially if you work on a specific diorama or a special showpiece that you really just want to highlight something. And of course, if you're in large scale, I just don't know what's out there that could possibly come around the corner to meet you guys head to head with your product.
Well, yeah, ours. Most of our large scale figures are more expensive than the ones you can buy through the LGB stuff. I don't even know if Pico provides figures, and a lot of our large scale figures aren't on the website. But if you contact us, and all the email and contact information's on the website, we can send you other attachments that'll show other lines that we have not yet gotten on the website.
Well, I'm going to let you go, Al, because this show's getting a little bit long. It's 8:29. We've been on almost an hour. Are we going to try to get Bernie again?
Let's see if we can't call Bernie back.
Alan, I want to say Merry Christmas to you. And your website again is scalefigures.com. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, really a quick comment. I appreciate you having me on. And I'd like to tell people that you're looking at the CEO and the guy that changes the toilet paper in the bathroom. So it's a real informal sales deal if you get in touch with us.
Well, we like supporting smaller manufacturers, and I think our guys out there are appreciative of this kind of craftsmanship that you're not going to run into on the Walters website, for argument's sake. It makes there's so many creative contributors to this hobby that many of us just don't know about. So for Fun and Games and for ScaleFigures.com, this has been Alan Pollock. Alan, have a great Christmas, buddy, and I look forward to seeing you in Springfield.
You too. Hope you can get the other fellow back on.
I hope so. We all hope so. Okay?
Good night.
Good night now. Anyhow, it's Alan Pollock from Missouri. And as you can hear, he has a lot of unique things. It's worth a look. You don't have to buy anything. And the website does take some navigating because it's an old school website. But if you want to have something a little different and open up a few doors, it's not a bad way to go. We're going to try Bernie again. And if this doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least we know the equipment's working. Bernie, you can hear me. You know what? We may just talk through this because I don't see you, but we can speak to each other. And, it's Alan is back. Bernie's not back.
There you go.
Bernie, I apologize for what happened before. We went to Alan Pollock over at Fun and Games, and that seemed to iron out pretty well, so we're hoping we have the same luck with you. Can you hear me? Oops. Just lost him with a.
Nope.
I can
oh.
hear you
Don't
fine.
look at the don't look at
I
the
have video,
screen.
but I'm not sure you have my video or not.
Is it?
Well, I can see you now. It's not important that you see me, but everybody can see Bernie
Okay.
Bernie Kempinski without the goatee.
Hello, everybody.
And now Bernie owns something called Alchem Scale Models. Bernie and I go back a long time, as I mentioned earlier. And originally, Bernie, I remember your line being more N-scale centric because your native scale was N-scale. He was an author for N-Scale magazine for many years, along with myself. And since then, he's branched out to HO scale and what, O scale as well, Bernie?
Yes, we have a few O-scale things too. So I'm currently modeling in O-scale, so most of my projects are in O-scale nowadays.
Now, Bernie is a very articulate modeler. He's an engineer by trade, and as such, he's developed a keen eye and understands how to use computers. But on the other hand, he has a very unusual situation because, like our own Jim Mooney, it's very unusual, very rare. I think, Bernie, you'd have to agree to find an engineer that is also creative. Engineers seem to be more expediters than creators, but you've crossed that path pretty well.
Yeah, I probably get it from both my mother and my father. They were both very artistic and crafty. My dad was a cop, but he should have been an engineer, and he wrote poetry and he painted. So, and my mom could sew anything and cook anything. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you, when exactly did you start the company up?
Well, around 1996, when I was doing NTRAC with the C&O New River subdivision, and it started with just the need to make the signal bridges that the C&O had. They're very distinctive metal signal bridges. And that was the first etch project. And then it evolved into some more C&O things. And other people said, hey, what do you need? And so basically it was a part-time company that was making things that we needed. And then we would sell off the extra to break even or invest into further stuff. And after a while, I just started getting successful. I added things, and unfortunately, a lot of my N-scale things are out of stock because the sales kind of dried up on them. So recently, I've had people ask me, why don't I do more N-scale? And it's because it didn't sell very well, and it wasn't worth restocking. So, you know, I'm happy to do N-scale stuff, but there wasn't much of a market for it. And this type of product that I do, which is oriented on fine scale, high fidelity, prototype based models, is a very niche market. And so there aren't that many people that are really willing to buy the kit and build it. A lot of my kits are photo etched, which requires soldering skills, and that scares off people too, even though these things are extremely easy to solder because they're so thin, they solder very quickly, and it's easy to fix mistakes. One of these days, I really need to do a video on how simple it is to solder these things. So that's where we are now. I'm retired from my full-time job, and I do Alchem still as a part-time because it seems like I got actually busier once I retired, but I guess that's common. Most people say that.
Well, let me ask you, as you develop products, I assume you're always in some form of development. Do you find yourself gravitating more to the HO or the O? Because the markets are unique, but both of them are strong. And frankly, the N-scale market, at least for us here at Bar Mills, has been substantial. It's been supporting us in no small way. I think the N-scalers are starting to come of age when it comes to this kind of thing.
Well, that'd be great. I would love to do some more. I have N-scale things that I could restock. A lot of the etchings, they don't go away if you don't have them, but you have to pay to have them made and then sell them. So yeah, I could try that. I just did a couple N-scale projects myself that were custom models for people. I did a custom model for a local museum, and it was basically a building, a complex of buildings in N-scale, but I wasn't planning on making that as a kit. It was pretty involved model for a museum. I have a few O-scale things. My next project, I have a couple projects, but I just never have time to finish them. I'm basically a one-man show. I do subcontract out things, like I do my etchings. I don't do my etchings. I mean, you know, I send those away. They're done in Massachusetts. I have my own laser cutter, and now I have 3D printer. One of the things I would like to do is start printing figures for people in the poses that at least I need on my railroad. My railroad is modeling the Civil War in O-scale, and so you can find military figures that are sort of fighting, but I need people that are in camp and chopping wood and cooking and doing things like that, loading boxes. And so I plan to do some of that in the future once I get this 3D printing going. And, a couple of little products. I've got some artillery now that's 3D printed. Got a supply wagon for the O-scale people that's 3D printed. And I have a new DODX flat car in HO scale. That's an 89-footer that's coming out. I already have the 60-footer. It's a military flat car, and I'll be doing an HO one. And I have a few other things on my website. People can go take a look at it. My best seller are the fences. I heard you guys talking about fences earlier. Well, I do a photo etch fence in 5,000 stainless steel, which with barbed wires on top, and it looks really good. And that sells. I sell a lot of them. They just shipped a bunch to Switzerland today, I guess it was. And I got a guy from New Zealand called me up and wants to know how to track his package. So those have been pretty good.
Well, we're going to take a second, Lenny, because I'm going to ask, not Lenny, I'm sorry, Bernie. We're going to take a second, Bernie, because I'm going to ask Len to call up one of your photos so we could talk a little bit about one of your projects, and so we could all get an idea of what we're talking about here. And then you could talk a little bit about it. Lenny, what are we pulling up?
The first one I'm going to pull up is kind of a smaller item, but it's the HO Yard Tower. You and I talked about the detail in this.
Well, yeah, this is a little off what Bernie sent me, but this is something that fascinated me. Bernie, I'm going to step a little bit out of line here. This is an HO scale yard tower, which to me, I mean, that captured my eye. Can you tell us a little something about that?
Yeah, that is based on the yard tower that was at Smith Creek Yard on the CNO. However, that yard tower, that exact one or ones very similar, are used in a bunch of different locations. I have a customer who's modeling the Western Pacific who uses them. They're very similar to the towers at, I believe, at Rutherford Yard on the Reading. And it's a photo etch kit. It's about that high. And it's very simple to put LEDs in it because the little stanchion at the top, on top of the crow's nest, is just the right size for a T and 1.5 LED. So you can put one LED in there and run a wire down. You can put them all in series, use the frame, use the structure itself as your other connector, and it's very simple to light them up. If you look at my website, there's a couple of pictures of Ted Pamperin's layout in New Jersey, who has some of them lit up. And there's a guy in New York who's a lighting engineer on Broadway. He lighted a bunch of them on his layout. So that's been a good kit. The N-scale ones are out of stock right now, and I have one HO left. And because of all this production problems we're having, these things are made in the United States, but the etchers can't get the raw material, so I'm not going to get restocked until January. So that's been a bummer.
Well, it's good to know, though. You look at this kind of quality, and this is hidden from so many folks, unless you see it in a magazine or go to a train show, and there haven't been any train shows lately. There's no really predictable way of getting exposure on this kind of thing. We're going to call up another picture right now. Lenny, what are you bringing up?
Next up, I have something called the Brick Cabin.
The Brick Cabin? Are you? We're going to call that up, Bernie. If you want to give us an idea what that is.
That is another CNO structure. It's based on a standard brick cabin that the CNO used at their signal interlockings. And it was used mostly at Allegheny Cabin, but there were about 8 or 9 locations on the CNO that had them. The kit comes with a couple options, so you can make it like Allegheny Cabin up on the top, which is a lot of people that model CNO do Allegheny Cabin, but there are other ways you can do it. And if people want, I also have a custom option to make HN Cabin down at Hanover, down in Virginia. And yeah, that's a picture on Ted Pamperin's layout. I may have built that for him, though.
Now, is that a brass model, or what is it exactly made of?
No, it's laser cut acrylic, or sometimes I use MDF, depending on what I have on hand. And then the windows are laser cut resin impregnated cardboard, which some people call laser board. I get mine directly from the manufacturer in Michigan, so he calls it resin impregnated cardboard. And the railings are little pieces of wire. I believe I built that for Ted, but I could be wrong about that. I built a bunch of them for people.
Well, that's really amazing. I want to keep going with this. Hopefully, if anyone has any questions on this, we are monitoring the screen. Someone asked already what's your website address, so let's insert that right now. What is your website address, Bernie?
www.alkem, A-L-K-E-M, scalemodels.com.
Oh, so www.alchemscalemodels.com.
Spell it.
And right now
Right.
we have looks like a couple of Canon or a Canon transport.
Right, that is a Canon.
Case.
That's a Canon and what they call a limber,
It's a cannon.
which
case.
a limber was the pickup truck of the Civil War. You would put 4 horses or 6 horses in front, and you could attach anything you wanted to the back and haul it around. And that's on my layout right there. That's artillery and limber in O scale. Those are 3D printed with some cast metal parts.
And is that locked into an O scale offering only at this point?
Yeah, because you can get them in HO and N from other manufacturers, but nobody makes a true O scale cannon. They make them in either the war game scale, which is 48 millimeter, which works out to about 143, so they're too big, or they come in 28 millimeter scale, which is like 156, and they're too small. So I'm doing a whole line of Civil War era vehicles that are true O scale, 148.
We're going to call up
And
another. We're going to call up another photo here, Bernie. Lenny, what are you
Okay.
calling up, sir?
Next up, we have the photo with the tank on the rail car.
Yeah, so the tank is just a Minitrix tank, but that is a DODX 60-foot, 100-ton flat car that is used. The Army owns about 230 of those, and they are used to transport armored vehicles around. This is the 60-foot one. This is the first one I did. I have the measurements. I went down to Fort Eustis with a friend, and we measured up the 89-footer. It's very similar, but they're painted yellow and they're longer. The cool thing about the red car, the 60-footer, is it can take an Abrams tank. An Abrams tank with the M1A2 variants, they're like 75 tons, 74 tons. And so you can only put one on this flat car. There's another flat car that the Army uses that has 6-axle trucks, and those are unique to the Army, and that can hold 2 tanks. And those were available, and there's another manufacturer supposedly doing them, so I'm not doing them. But I have the DODX 4100 series here, and eventually I'll have the DODX 4900, which are the 89-footers coming out. So what you see there, those are etched kits. Correction, those are photo etched kits with a laser cut core. So you take the deck, you put it on the core, and then you just bend the pieces around the shape of the core, and you've got a flat car. Then you stick all the ribs in, run some wires. There's some 3D printed parts in there for the brake details and things like that. And it makes a pretty nice kit, and it's not hard to build. One of my customers builds them 5 at a time. Again, this one's out of stock. I'm waiting for restock on this one too.
We have something else unusual up here. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at. It looks like it's on a shipping port, and I don't know if I'm supposed to be looking at the cranes or the chain link fence or what on this.
They look like
Well, the thing that I sell are the
Look at the arms
fences. So
of
what
the
you're seeing in the
turbine.
foreground are the
Turbine.
fences. And the ship I built for a book that I did for Comback. And so that is that picture it might be in my book, I'm not sure. But what I'm trying to show here is how you can use the fences in a scene. And the cool thing about these etched fences is it's very easy to make them articulate so that you can close them behind the train when the train goes in and open them back up when the train goes out. And I just do it with my finger. But some people like Lance Minheim, they'll put them on underneath an articulated mechanism so that they just push a button and they open. But I don't think it's unrealistic to open it with your fingers. So that's how I do it on mine.
Now we do have a comment from, and I hate these kind of comments only because it's a public forum here. A fellow, I'm not going to mention. Well, everybody can see it if you're on YouTube. Dave Weatherald is having a little trouble downloading a C&O cabin manual. Anyhow, just thought I'd let you know. He typed it on here. I guess he wanted you to know.
Yeah, I know the deal on that. They were all loaded to Dropbox. So anyone could go look at what it takes to build the kit. I think I put a note on my website about this. Well, Dropbox nerfed my website. I don't know how they did it. So the links are still there, but they don't work. So if you want the instructions, email me and I'll just send you the PDF.
Okay, well that's how things are going on. Also, a fellow named Rocky Barrick. He was curious. He says, "What is the ship's cargo?"
Oh, and that picture of those are windmill blades.
All right. Yeah, as a matter of fact,
Yeah,
Mark
that's a
Hagan
cool-
says it looks like a windmill blade. So, Mark, you win the golden hip hip hurrah. And Dave, by the way, says thank you for that information about the PDF that you'll send to him. What do
Yeah,
you see in the future of Alchem at this point? I realize you're laid back a little bit, but are you? Is this a line that we're going to be able to count on seeing for a while?
Well, it's interesting. I was talking to my son and daughter-in-law last night. It was, and when I get too old to do this, they may take it over.
Well, the
So hopefully it'll continue. I'm 65 now. I'm retired. I'm enjoying life, and I am developing new things. But I also want to finish my layout, and I have about 2 more years to go on my layout. My layout there's be an article in MRP, Model Railroad Planning, next month or a couple months from now, talking about what I'm doing on my layout if you're curious. Or you could go to my blog, which is usmrr.blogspot.com. And I post, what I'm up to on my blog. So if you're curious about what I'm doing. Yeah, you had mentioned earlier, or we talked this afternoon about what do I see the future of this hobby.
yes.
And I think 3D printing is going to be a big part of it. Whether you make the files yourself or you buy the files and download them at home and print them at home or buy the printed things, I think it's opening up a lot of potential that, for this short run, high fidelity models that no one's ever going to produce, but, you can get them in 3D printed. So I think that might be where we're going in the future.
I would have to agree. We have our own 3D printing going on. Jim Mooney, our engineer, takes care of that down in Pennsylvania. He's pretty close to where you are. He's near Maryland. And we do our prototypes that we turn into resin castings for the most part, but we have control over it that way. And of course, unlike laser files, they're very readily scalable. People think laser files are that scalable, but I think we all know there's more to it than that.
Yeah, that's true.
So at any rate, Bernie, I'm going to let you go, bud. I haven't seen you in a while. We do have one more request for your website name, so you want to give it to us one more time?
Spell it, please.
www.alkem, ALKEM, scalemodels.com.
Well, it's great seeing you again. It's been a while, and
Yeah, thanks for chatting.
yeah,
Sorry about that hiccup earlier. I don't know what caused it.
well, then he said it was your fault.
Oh, of course it's my fault.
We got it worked out. That's all.
We
that
got it
matters.
worked out. Hey, we've been on an hour and a half so far, and we haven't given our
Well,
own
Merry
clinics
Christmas,
yet.
everybody. All right, bye-bye.
All right, Bernie, take care, bye. All right, we're going to head right into a couple of clinics by Jack Ellis, then call it a night. It's been an hour and a half. It's been a long but interesting show. Not too many bumps in the road, we're happy to say. And if you have any questions for Jack, first clinic is going to be, what are you calling up first? The clinic on sidewalks?
I believe sidewalks is first.
So this is on doing resin sidewalks, right?
Painting the resin sidewalks.
Right, and it's you guys have stuck with us by and large. We're happy to see that.
It's not the only way, it's just the way we do it.
And this was requested by
somebody asked about it.
Tom Niarchos. I remember who he was in Greece. He's in Athens, Greece, watching us last month on the live broadcast, and he asked for help doing these sidewalks. And we said we do a clinic. If you have any clinics that you would like to request, ask for one, because this is why this one exists. So Lenny, whenever you're set, buddy, let's focus in on Jack's Corner.
Welcome to Jack's Corner. Tonight we're going to look at sidewalks. We are resin sidewalks. We're going to learn how to paint them, and sometimes they come a little bit bent. We'll show you how to straighten those, and that's what we're going to look at tonight, so stay tuned. Okay, we'll discuss the things we need to do, what we're going to do tonight with the sidewalks. There's a couple things we're going to do. First, I need some water, and this water should be hot to the touch. Not boiling, but hot to the touch. This is just my water to clean my brush. This is a camouflage paint. It happens to be earth brown. We have a white. We have it's basically an orange color for the brick. We have a black. And then this is just paint thinner. Any kind of thinner, probably paint thinner will do. A couple of brushes. You need one that's a flat brush. some disposable gloves, and a piece of terry cloth. The first thing we're going to look at is, if you look at our resin sidewalks, sometimes they have a little bit of a bend to them, and sometimes that makes them hard to glue down. So what we're going to do is straighten them. So what you want to do is get some water, get it hot enough so when you put your finger in, it's really hot to the touch, but not boiling. Then I'm just going to set that piece in like that. We're going to let it sit there till it gets to the temperature of the water. Then you're going to fish it out. I won't do it because I don't have a thing with me, but then you're going to take that hot piece. It should be warm up to the touch. I'm going to put it on a flat surface, and then I'm going to put something nice and flat on it and leave it there till it dries. And when it dries, it should relax and be flat and straight and much easier to glue to the sidewalk. That's what we're looking for. Well, we're going to be using some spray paint, so what I'd like to do is make sure you put some gloves on because you're going to be handling it. And the other thing you want to make sure is it's well ventilated or outside or in a spray booth because you don't want to be breathing this stuff, so take your precautions, please. Thank you. All right, once you've let it cool down and dry, it'll be flat then. This one is still a little curved because I couldn't wait. But what we're going to do now is I need to do a base coat. We're going to paint this a base coat. I'm going to use this earth, let's see, they call it earth brown. It's Rust-Oleum earth brown. Great camouflage color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to spray it like this. Then I'm going to take a piece of terry cloth and I'm going to rub off across the top surface like that. Just like that. And then I'm going to set it aside and let it dry. Once we let the black dry, or the brown dry, it's actually brown, we're going to now paint our top of our brick. This happens to be brick side. We're going to paint the top of the bricks. We don't want to paint the curbing, we just want to paint the bricks. And for that, I'm going to use, this is just an orange. You want to get some kind of an orange. Shake it up a little bit, open the top. I like to use the top of the cap as my little palette. I'm going to take a flat brush, I'm going to dip it in, to knock a little bit off, and I'm going to paint across the tops lightly, just like this. I try not to get it in the cracks. I'm just trying to get the top. You can put 2 coats on it. Don't get it on the curb if you can help it. I'll do half of this so you can see we don't want to be here all day. Now we've let the orange dry. Make sure it's really good and dry because we're going to dry brush over the top and we don't want it mixing in. So you can see it here that we've got it all done and the black is showing through and the curb is still this grayish color. We're going to lighten the curb a little bit too when we do it. So I'm going to take a white, just a plain old white acrylic paint, and I'm going to do the same thing, but we're going to dry brush it this time. So what I'm going to do is dip it in here and I'm going to scrub a lot off, and then I'm going to lightly go across the top of the sidewalk. Not a lot, but just going to lightly do it. We're going to catch some of this here. Just light brush. That's one of the things they call about dry brushing. You're lightly doing it. You're doing highlights, that's all. If you get a little bit too much of this, you can go back over it with a little ink and alcohol or Hunter's line. It'll darken it up a little bit. But what we're trying to do is just highlight the bricks, the edges of the bricks, and make them look a little more worn. And that's basically it. All done. Ready for the next one. You can do, if you do multiple ones, just remember when you spray on the brown spray paint, you want to wipe it off right away and then do the next spray, the next one. Don't do a whole bunch and then try to wipe them off. You want to wipe them off quickly so you can get the paint off the top so it just leaves in the cracks. So that's basically all we're done. Now you see how we do it, and I think what I'll do is just go over it quick so you guys can have a kind of quick overview. So the first thing we did is we sprayed it with the earth brown and wiped it right away, so it just left it in the cracks and in the crevices. Then we not dry brush, but just over the tops of the bricks with the orange. Then we did a dry brushing of white and got my curbs done. Don't forget we have the corners. So if you want to add a little sidewalk here, you can put these right angle corners right in. They fit right together like this, and you can get yourself a nice little corner like that, or you can cut them with a fine-tooth saw, and you can make them any angle you want. So this is the easiest way to do it that I know of. The next step you got to do is you got to glue them down. And the last thing we want to talk about is how do we attach these to our either diorama or our layout. A couple ways. The two ways that I know of is you can use a water-based contact cement, or you can use AC, maybe even goo if you want to give it a try, but goo is kind of a contact cement. So you want to make sure you get them after you flatten them. Remember, you flatten them at the beginning. You want to get them on as quick as you can. Not as quick as you can, but don't let them sit for 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days. It might begin to relax back. So you want to glue them right down. Glue them right down. Dust them up a little bit. Put some dirt around them. Detail that you can add to your layout or your diorama that makes a lot of sense because they look really, really good. So you've seen how we do it. You can try it yourself. Try it on a piece. Let her go, and you'll be all set to make sidewalks galore. Thanks for watching. Welcome to Jack's Corner. Tonight we're going to look at sidewalks. We are resin sidewalks. We're going to learn how to paint them, and sometimes they come a little bit bent. We'll show you how to straighten those, and that's what we're going to look at tonight, so stay tuned. Okay, we'll discuss the things we need to do, what we're going to do tonight with the sidewalks. There's a couple things we're going to do. First, I need some water, and this water should be hot to the touch. Not boiling, but hot to the touch. This is just my water to clean my brush. This is a camouflage paint. It happens to be earth brown. We have a white. We have it's basically an orange color for the brick. We have a black. And then this is just paint thinner. Any kind of thinner, probably paint thinner will do. A couple of brushes. You need one that's a flat brush. Some disposable gloves and a piece of terry cloth. The first thing we're going to look at is, if you look at our resin sidewalks, sometimes they have a little bit Welcome to Jack's Corner. Tonight we're going to look at sidewalks.
Okay, go ahead. Okay.
All right, we're back. Anyhow, that was the clinic done twice. We actually had another clinic, and the file names got messed up, which only makes sense considering how things have gone tonight. Although we've been on for an hour and a half, and with the exception of the Skype situation, wasn't bad. So we screwed it up. Thanks, Jack. I'm going to do mine tomorrow. Okay. Oops. Rerun of the sidewalk clinic is repeating. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Jim. And thanks to all of you, and from Lenny, myself.
1 second.
Yeah.
Jim, you were talking about the fence, Instafence, and the
Jim
telephone.
Armour, you're talking about.
I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah.
The telephone poles. What I mentioned in the clinic was that when you make a fence and you cut the bottom piece off, that little piece together, save those pieces when you go to make your telephone poles, and if you watch that video again, you'll see what we use those for. That was what we said about the fence and the telephone poles.
So from two old guys here in Maine, and a third not so old guy, Lenny, over here, and from my wife Nancy, Jim Mooney, of course, and the crew at Bar Mills. You want to do this?
What? I'm going to say happy holidays, guys, and have a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
And stay tuned, and we hope we see you in Springfield. We will be back with more. It's an hour and a half long of watching two old geezers here, and we appreciate your patience. Hopefully you enjoyed, and please support the guys that have taken their time to show you their products, because it's an important part of the hobby, sharing that. Okay, so for all of us here at Bar Mills, Merry Christmas.